Hello my dear friends, a very warm welcome to all of you to our day 7 14 days SQL-PRO challenge. Yesterday we have seen how to create views, we have performed the task based on that, and today we are going to understand temporary tables and derived tables. Okay, so let's understand firstly what is derived table. So derived table is basically a subquery. Okay, when we can call the subquery a derived table, when we use this subquery inside the from. Okay, whenever we are using any subquery inside this from statement, then we can simply call it as derived table. This is it. This is nothing new that we don't know. Fine. Okay. Now the question comes, can we save this derived table? No, we cannot save it. We simply create the derived table, and when the query ends, then this derived table role will also ends. Okay, we basically just use it once like disposable items. We create it, we use it inside that query, and this is it. So once the query ends, if there is need to use this derived table again, then we cannot reuse it. Okay, we cannot reuse it. Fine. Now what is the syntax? So syntax is similar to the subquery. Fine, because derived table is nothing, it is simply a subquery when we write it inside this from statement. Fine. Now come to our temporary table. So what is temporary table? It is a table that we create. Okay, that we create. Now question comes, what is the life of this temporary table? So the life of this temporary tables is for that particular session. For that particular session, when the session ends, then the existence of this temporary table will also ends. Okay, it means it will automatically delete it when we will log out from our session. Now what is the syntax of this temporary table? So syntax is very easy, guys. We simply have to write create temporary table. Okay, create temporary table, and then we have to give the name of this table, and then we have to write as and our usual codes like select, from, where, and this is it. Okay, this thing we will see in more detailed manner while executing the query. Fine. Now everything is a table. Fine, this is temporary table, this is derived table. Yesterday we have seen one thing called view. That was also a table. So in one sentence, if someone will ask what is the difference between all these three, then you can simply say that in the view we can store our table permanently. Okay, in the view we can store our table permanently. In the temporary tables, we can store the table for the current session only. Okay, in the view it is a permanent storage. In the temporary table we can store the table for that current session only. And for the derived table there is no storage. Okay, it provides no storage. We simply used it for that particular query, and that's it. Right. So can we, like if someone will ask that tell about the reusability of all these three. So we can reuse the view. Yes, definitely we can. We can reuse the temporary table. Yes, definitely we can reuse this temporary table, but for that session only in which we have created the temporary table. For that session only we can reuse our table. Can we reuse our derived table? No, we cannot reuse our derived table. Fine. So here we have seen the basic difference between temporary, view, and the derived tables. Now let's run our queries one by one so that we can get more clear picture. And I'm going to open my SQL workbench. So here we firstly have to mention that we are going to enter in our database, which is online food delivery. As you can see here, it is highlighted. That means I have already mentioned it. For that we simply have to write use online food delivery, and that's it. Correct? So I'm not going to write it again. Now I'm quickly writing our query number 1. So query number 1 is saying to find top 3 customers, okay, based on the total spending. Based on total spending. And here we have to use temporary table. We have to use temporary table. In the queries we will see temporary tables only, because derived table we have already practiced in the form of subquery. So we are not going to practice the derived table for this day. For this session we are going to learn the temporary table only. Fine. Okay, so how to start solving it? So first of all, at first step will be to get the output window. So in the output window we must have customer ID, customer name, what else? Total spent, right? Total spent. Fine. How can we create temporary table and how can we get the top 3 customers? So what we will do, we will firstly calculate the total spent. We will calculate the total spent. Okay, and then we will save it as a temporary table. We will save this as temporary table. In the next step, what we will do, we will use this temporary table and we will simply apply the limit, right? So what we did, we firstly created a temporary table with the name total spent. Okay, here we have the columns called customer ID, customer name with their total spent. And in the second step, what we will do, we will simply use the limit on this created temporary table. Fine. Okay, now let's write the codes. So now to create the temporary table, firstly we have to write create temporary table, and then we have to give the name to this table, and that name can be temporary total spending. Okay, as, now we have to write as, and then we simply have to write select. What we need to select, we need to select customer ID, then customer name, and then we have to select the sum of price and quantity as total spent, right? From which table? So from customers table and from the orders table. Also from the order details table. Right, and we also need one more table, which is menu item table. And as I have already explained these things in our earlier challenges, earlier videos many times, so I know that you all know these basic things, so no need to explain it again and again. Fine. Now there is a need to use group by. Group by what? Group by customer ID as well as customer name. This is it. This is the step through which we have created the temporary table. Now let's run it. Unknown item ID, here it is M. After running it, okay, so here you can see the result window. Hope you can see this. Okay, so here you can see what? Here it is written 450 rows affected, correct? Now if we want to get the top 3, if you want to get the top 3 customers based on their spending, so what we have to do, we simply have to write select star, means we are selecting all the columns. From which table? So from this table, right? And now we will do the order by total spent, and this order will be, the sorting will be in descending manner, and then we will simply use the limit. Okay, this is what I have explained to you. So now run this thing, and here you will have your top 3 customers based on their total spending. Customer ID 2, 137 and 191. Okay guys, so what we did basically here, we firstly have created the temporary table and then we simply have called it. So we can use this table for the entire session. Okay, until unless this session is not logged out, we can use this temporary table. Now come to our query number 2, and in this query we are going to determine, we are going to find restaurant by revenue, top 3 restaurant by revenue. So how to do it? Firstly, we should know what will be our result output. So here output window will be something like restaurant ID, right? Then the restaurant name, then what else? Revenue. So total revenue. We want top 3 restaurants, correct? So for that, what we will do in the first step, we will firstly create a temporary table with the total revenue for the entire table, for the entire restaurants. All restaurants will be covered in this temporary table. Then later on, what we will do, we will simply use this temporary table with the limit, the way we did in this query, correct? So now let's start writing the code. And firstly, we are going to create the temporary table. So for that, we have to write create temporary table, and the name is temporary restaurant revenue. As now we have to provide our code. So select restaurant ID, restaurant name, and the sum of price with the quantity, as total revenue from restaurant table, and join it with the orders table O. On what basis? So on where restaurant ID is equal to the restaurants table restaurant ID. Then also there is a need to join it with the order details table OD. On what basis? So on where order details table order ID is equal to the orders table order ID. Also we have to join it with the menu items table. On what basis? So on where item ID is equal to the order details table item ID. Correct? Now we will use the group by what? Restaurant ID as well as restaurant name. This is it. Now let's run it. Now let's run it, guys. And okay, so our temporary table has been created. Now we have to select all columns from this table. The name of this table is temporary restaurant revenue, and we have to use the order by. Now we are going to sort the total revenue in descending manner, and then we will apply the limit of 3. Now after running it, we can see we have our top 3 restaurants by revenue. Right? Now come to our query number 3, and this query is saying to explore the customers who ordered from 5 different restaurants. We have to explore customers who ordered from 5 plus different restaurants. So how to get this? How can we achieve it? First of all, we need to create the output window, correct? And the output window should be look like customers who order. So it should be look like customer ID, correct? Customer name and the distinct restaurant, right? So we basically have to create the distinct restaurant. Suppose customer ID 1 customers, distinct restaurant are 7, and customer IDs 2 1 distinct restaurants are 6. So this thing we basically have to calculate. After calculating this, we will keep this in a temporary table. Okay, we have to keep all these things in a temporary table, and then later on we simply have to put the condition where the restaurants, okay, distinct restaurants are greater than 5, greater than and equal to the 5. This condition we will put. So let's see how to do this. Okay, so firstly let's create the temporary table, and let's name it as, temporary customer spend as. Now let's write a normal code. So select customer ID. Now our purpose is to find out the distinct restaurants, correct? The number of distinct restaurants. So for that we have to apply the count function on which? On the restaurant ID. So O dot restaurant ID, and be careful here, you have to mention the orders table, okay, not the restaurant table. Fine. So our purpose is to calculate the distinct IDs only. So here we will have to write distinct keyword. Okay, fine, and give it one name. So I'm giving it as distinct restaurant. From which table? So from orders table, and then we will use the group by. Group by what? Group by customer ID. Fine. Orders tables customer ID, correct? Now, okay, so now it's time to use this temporary customer spend table, and in this example we are going to learn how to join this temporary table with other table as well. So for that we have to write what? We have to write select customer ID and the customer name and the distinct restaurants. Okay, so comma t dot distinct restaurant. Let's copy and paste here. Fine. Okay, what we have selected? We have selected the customer ID from the customers table, customer name from the customer table, and the distinct restaurant from this temporary table, right? In the above codes, we have selected the customer ID from the orders table because it is about the orders placing thing, correct? Fine. So here we have selected these things. Now we have to mention the from which table. So from, first of all, this temporary table. So write the name of this table and let's define it with the T, as well as we are going to join it with the customers table C. Okay, customers table C. Here we have mentioned the C. On what basis? So on where customers table customer ID is equal to the temporary table customer ID. Fine. Now we will put the condition. So where distinct restaurant column, okay, is greater than and equal to the 5, and let's arrange it in a descending manner. So order by this thing. In what? In descending manner, correct? And then after that also arrange it in alphabetical manner with the customer name. I hope it's clear, guys. Okay, here it is, order by. Fine. Now let's run it. So here you can see we have customer ID, customer name, and the distinct restaurant that are greater than 5. So basically what we did, we firstly have created the temporary table, and in this temporary table we have what? We have selected the customer ID and the count of distinct restaurants from the orders table. Fine. After creating this temporary table, we have used it in our query, and in this query we have joined this temporary table with the customer table, correct? And we have applied the condition as well where distinct restaurant is greater than or equal to the 5, and then we simply have arranged it in a descending manner. This is it. So in this session we have learned how to create temporary table, as well as we have learned how to join this temporary table with the other tables. Fine. Okay, so this is it for this video. Now you will get your 5 tasks based on this concept only. Okay, here you will have to apply the temporary table concept only, nothing else. No derived table, no views, nothing. Only the purpose is to practice the temporary tables. So you will get your PDF in the WhatsApp group, and see you tomorrow, guys. So till then, take care, keep practicing. Bye bye.